Welcome, Capricorns, your in-depth monthly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for May 2026 for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the month ahead to begin with, then on screen your event chart. As we come into the month, that always provides an influential backdrop. I'll then go through each of those influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what you can expect in terms of energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. As we come into this month, we have a full moon, a flower moon. As we leave this month, we have another full moon. So it's a blue moon month, the first since August 2023. But at its heart is one of the most positive new moons of the whole year, particularly for your sign, Capricorn. So I can't wait to share about that. We also have a lot of energy building up in the sign of Taurus beyond the sun, not least Mars from the 18th. And with Venus moving into your sector of relating on the 19th, it can be an exciting time for your love life through the last phase of this month, despite the sun moving on the 21st into a very practical area, but meeting a very unpractical planet in Uranus straight away, which can create a lot of electricity and excitement as we head towards the end of the month. So on the screen now is your event chart. As ever, we need to look at the two luminaries. There's the sun in the fifth house, very much to do with self-expression, joy, pleasure, sociability, romance. Can also be where you can showcase your personal charisma, your talents to the absolute max. So what's that moon about developing in Scorpio and in a square with Pluto? Well, if there is someone you're friendly with, and you have different values to them, that problem could show up this month. It doesn't need to be insurmountable, but it may be there. The moon in Scorpio is in its four, and essentially the moon is very much about our emotions. So if your emotions around certain friends or social connections are not as strong as you would like because you feel that you can't quite demonstrate uh, your fun side as much as you would like. Perhaps they're not quite the right group for you energetically. That may be something that the full moon will reveal through the first 2 weeks of this month. We also need to be mindful of your ruler, Saturn. Well, he's going to be in your fourth house for 2 years to the end of April 28th. And he's going to be asking you to work hard at understanding your inner world. Your need for personal security is quite strong, but maybe it's going to show up less in a physical way with Saturn and more in terms of getting more in tune with where you feel most comfortable, the atmosphere of wherever you are, work or home. Now, the other big things that stand out for me is that Jupiter, the planet of fortune, continues in your sector of relating to the end of June and is going to be joined by the glorious Venus from the 18th, 19th, sorry. However, at the start of this month, Mars is in a square with Jupiter. Now, Mars is shrugged off the misty influence of Neptune, the restrictive vibe of Saturn, and is freer. So maybe you have got busier making some changes to your physical space. But if there is someone that you like, Mars in the fourth house in Aries, which it rules, could just give you that extra slice of confidence to make that first move. There's also a link between Mercury and Chiron at the turn of the month. And if that new moon that we had in Aries, conjunct Chiron, did evoke some valuable thoughts or energies around your childhood, around your early nurturing. There can be more thoughts that you process with Mercury in a conjunction to Chiron, but in a helpful way. And you know, despite the fact that Pluto is in that clash with the moon in Scorpio at the start of the month, he's in a stunning link with Venus. So if you are talking about money and it is around a creative talent you have, but it is talking. There is a communication going on. Your ability to articulate your ideas, but also keep an eye on the value of what you have for some kind of functional outcome. I think you could really have some improvement around your finances through this month. So let's dig back down into that full moon at the start of the month. So yeah, you may just find yourself having to sort of rebalance if your social or friendship circle isn't quite as you would like. But by the third, Mercury moves to join up with the Sun in the fifth house. And although Saturn can be very much about enjoying the good things in life, and it is very sensual, Mercury moving into the fifth house can be quite mischievous. You'll find your sense of humour will really spark back into life from the third. And Capricorns, I have always found, particularly as you get older, have got a brilliant dry sense of humour. So that's really lovely. Mercury moves forward, does square off to Pluto. That issue about values and who you're aligned to romantically or friendship wise could show itself from that. But then on the 16th, we have that marvelous new moon in your sister Earth sign of Taurus. The fifth house is pleasure central, but the moon loves being in Taurus. She's exalted there. And after the new moon in Cancer, it can't get any better. So to have Mercury, which can be impish, but also give you the desire to connect, communicate, and enjoy some banter. I think that's really something that can come through from the new moon. So if you're wanting to revive your social situation, or there is someone you're interested in romantically, that quieter energy in your fourth house at the start of the month makes way for much more dazzling vibration. Then with Mars moving to join up with them on the 18th and Venus switching on the 19th, it means your fifth and seventh house. Fifth house is the romance, and also it's having the courage to take that step into the opportunity. The seventh house, particularly with Venus, and particularly in the caring Cancer, very much about relating in a harmonious way. That's really, really exciting for you. But we do also have Mercury then moving to join up with Uranus in your sixth house. If you have, with Uranus's help over the last 7 years, come up with lots of imaginative ideas, do you know Mercury connecting to Uranus is intriguing because Uranus is the higher octave ruler of the planet of Mercury, so they're much more aligned than Uranus was in Taurus, where he is in his fall. So I think that even if you had ideas in recent times that didn't quite go anywhere, they could be reignited towards the end of this month. Then, with Mars and Venus moving forwards, I think there can be a lot more social opportunities, but then the Sun plays catch up move into the sixth house. But the Sun conjunct Uranus could make you much more conscious if you've got a job that maybe you've enjoyed in the past, but maybe with Uranus's influence can suddenly seem to run a little on the dull side. And that's how Uranus can work. In the sixth house, he's challenging you to change up your routines. And over the next 7 years, even if you're a very methodical, and a lot of Capricorn people are, very well organized person, there may be times when you want to just let that go a bit, be a little bit easier going about all of that. But also, if you're doing a job or pursuing interests or hobbies, things that are just a bit more mentally stimulating can definitely call out to you. Which brings us to Mars moving forwards and clashing with Pluto. So if we recall from the start of the month on this side of your chart, the moon clashed with Pluto. Then we had Mercury clash with Pluto. Then we have Mars clash with Pluto. So the 11th and 5th houses are very much about your choices around managing your time, your pleasure, your romance, or your friendships. The second house is about your values. Or the fifth house can be about speculation and risk. The second house can be about money. So it could be that Mars, which is very much more about confidence in making sudden moves, could in its square with Pluto see you do something speculative towards the end of May, and it might just pay off. But if you are aligned to a group of people who, someone's a bit mean or their energy drains you or they don't really understand some of your more idealistic side of your nature, that really could show up at times this month. But when it comes to that romantic situation, I love Mars's link with Venus through the last part of this month, which brings us to that blue moon on the very last day. So going back to that work situation, with the sun in the practical sixth house, very close to Uranus, about freedom, independence, or sudden change, and the moon in your 12th house, psychology, but also where you might feel that people aren't very supportive. If there is something manifesting where you feel the atmosphere is off, you don't really feel as connected to what you were doing, if it's draining you, if you feel that people around you are not so good for your energy, all of that could make you think very carefully about your job or role as the month draws to a close. But I want to tell you about just a snippet for June, Capricorn, because Venus is going to move forwards and connect with Jupiter. They're only about 3 or 4 degrees apart at the end of the month, but early in June, they come into a conjunction. We go back to when Jupiter first moved into Cancer last June. It wasn't lucky because it was afflicted by your stern ruler Saturn in a very precise way by the 15th of June. As Jupiter comes to the end of your sector of relationships, it's blessed by the lucky, magnificently alluring Venus. So if you didn't get all the good news you hoped around relationships from then until now, you could get it early in June. More about that in my next set of monthly videos. But thank you for joining me. I'm going to summarize those 4 areas, but just before I do, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscopes. You can now buy one, get three. And the reason, because I know people are feeling the pinch, but I also want to make these more accessible. Now, what you do is you pay for your life roadmap report, which is going to help you to understand the patterns in your life so far and get a more intimate understanding of your nature. But the 12-month transit forecast and the draconic analysis, they're totally free. Please see the link below for more. If you've yet to watch your Uranus in Gemini 4-year cycle video, that's on the screen. Mars conjunct Saturn, that's very much about Saturn cycles on the screen. If you'd like to work with me directly, please see the link below to check out my testimonials. If you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fire to your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop, please see below for more too. So let's just summarize the areas. Relationships, I think, looking particularly romantic relationships, can really develop well from the new moon at the middle of the month. But I think that Venus Mars sextile in the last half of the month really is very, very encouraging for you. When it comes to your professional situation, I think if you're not enjoying the company of the people you do, or the routine of the job you've had for some time is starting to wane, it could be you that decides to change things once the sun gets to meet with Uranus from the 21st. And of course, Mercury does connect with him just before then too. As far as your energy is concerned, that more sensitive vibe that Saturn is going to highlight is a factor. And even though the full moon at the start of the month is essentially a bit of it is an excess of riches because you could have lots of options. I think what should guide you around maintaining your vitality is to hang out with people that you feel really comfortable with, because once the sun moves into Gemini on the 21st, you could find your nervous system does get a bit more overstimulated, but you're probably going to want a lot more mental stimulation. And that's where you could get tired just doing things or being with people who don't really keep you feeling bubbly. When it comes to finances, as I mentioned, you may feel more speculative towards the end of the month with Mars and Pluto in a square, but that Pluto in the second house is likely to highlight where your values don't align with other people. It's been a pleasure being with you, Capricorn. Have a great May. Thank you so much for joining me, and all the best for now.